Welcome to another episode of The Wandering Prodigal. I hope you guys are all feeling better and doing well. I know it's been kind of a long stay, but we're getting there. It's starting to flatten out. There's been a few things that have been said over the last few days from several prominent people. I'm thinking about Trey Hollingsworth in Indiana, a congressman there. He's basically said that it'd be better to have people die than to tank the economy. There's been some others that have said certain things. Dr. Oz on Fox News yesterday had basically said, or a couple days ago, basically said that it'd be basically a 2 to 3% mortality rate to send kids back to school. I'm thinking that's a lot. And even after he had said that, Dr. Phil, again, stated the same thing. And it really got to me thinking, a lot of conservatives are really focusing on this death thing. They would much rather see people die than to live. They'd much rather keep their own money, their own stuff, and stay with themselves than rather save a life, rather than help people out. One of the things that I've been really noticing is that anytime there's anything said about, say, healthcare, they're the first ones to say it's not a right, it's a privilege. Same thing with helping the poor. They don't care. Their first thing is, oh, well, you got to get a good education, you got to get a good job. If you're working at McDonald's, earning, $13, $15 an hour, they're like, well, they're poor. I'm not going to support them. They chose to work there. They can get a good paying job and be able to earn their way. Work hard. There's a certain point where working hard, yeah, is needed. But, when we're not given the opportunity to be able to work hard, most jobs nowadays, most careers nowadays require an education. But most schools are so out of reach for the average family. I look at my own family. My kids would have a real tough time going to college. I know my son's about ready to graduate from high school. He wants to become a police officer, and he's going to plan on going to the academy here pretty soon, probably within the next year. My daughter, she has a couple of years, but she wants to go off to college. She wants to go to university. Some of the ones she's looking at are way out of price, and it's like, how are we supposed to afford that? When you're living paycheck to paycheck every single week, how are you supposed to save up to help your kids to be able to go to college? And it's really difficult. I've looked at some of the candidates that are coming up. Looking at Joe Biden, he's actually coming along and starting to talk about free tuition for college. And I think that that's a good idea. Our public schools, the evangelicals, they want to homeschool everybody. Unfortunately, I've seen too many come out of homeschooling, and they're lacking so miserably. But to come around, it all comes down to this one point. They can care less about the living and those that are alive. They don't really want to help. They could care less. The only way that they want to help is if they can evangelize them and save them. Bring them to Christ. And I don't believe that that's really supposed to be the way. When I was when I was an evangelical, one of the things that I truly believed was I had to save the world. The Great Commission, Matthew 28, whereas it's talking about you got to reach out to everybody to proclaim the gospel and then to teach them and equip them. It's one thing to educate people, but it's another thing to try to sway them to a certain belief. there are so many different beliefs out there, and a lot of them don't focus on a specific thing that everybody has to believe. And I guess I'm really having a hard time focusing on a particular thing here. All this stuff is just really coming through my mind. It's really hitting me. It's bugging me when I've been seeing this stuff coming across my feed on Facebook and Twitter. And it's one of those things that I really thought about as an evangelical, is trying to reach people. And I really came to realize over the last several years, before I left, that I believe what I believe, and people believe what they believe. I can't force them to believe what I believe, and especially when it's just a belief. It's how we focus. It's how we function. That's basically our philosophy of life. When you have such a prominent philosophy of life that dictates you to manipulate others, that's not a good philosophy. We have to focus on ourselves and who we are. How we interact with other people is how we treat them. We have to treat them for who they are, not for what we want them to be. I guess my main message and the thought that's really coming through, when these guys are talking about death and wanting to let people just die, I really wonder what they actually do believe. It's so messed up, and it's hard for me to wrap my mind around it, because they really don't care. It really shows me that they don't care about the other person other than getting them to think and believe the way that they believe. I guess my hope is for anybody who's listening to this and wanting to know is, we can't force anybody to believe what we believe. And it's just the same as we can't force somebody to just simply die. We can't just simply let just people sacrifice their lives. And we've got to try to do what we can to save everybody, as far as actual physical lives, to be there for them, not evangelizing them, not letting them go, not abandoning them, and surely not letting them just die. I think that that's just wrong. Going back to my evangelical roots, I'm thinking about Jesus Christ. He was talking about life. He was talking about giving them a freedom to be able to choose as they believe. He didn't force them to believe one way or another. In fact, the ones where he got upset with most were the ones that were actually forcing people to believe one way or walk one way and do a certain thing, because it became something they had to do instead of just being themselves. And I think that the true message there was that Jesus was truly trying to just get us to just be ourselves, and to just genuinely love people. And what I see now is this dichotomy of the liberals that are really trying to reach out. They really want to be able to provide and help others out, versus the conservatives, the evangelical conservatives, that they're more concerned about themselves and what they have, that you have to actually work for what you get, and that there's no free handouts. They don't care if you die. It's just a lot of thoughts that are just running through my mind. I just wanted to get this out there. It's something that's been really rubbing at me for the last couple of days, especially watching those tweets and those Facebook posts about people just wanting people to die just so we can get on with life. That's wrong. I just hope that you guys are all staying safe. through this time. And I hope that you would be considering how you are helping these people out. Are you allowing them to be themselves? I think that that's truly the way that we were meant to be. I believe what I believe, and I hope that you believe in what you're believing. I love you guys, and I really hope that you guys have a wonderful day. Stay safe. We'll talk to you later. Thanks, and bye.